Hi everyone, this is Shantae, aka Shanteezy. Welcome to my analysis on this Wednesday, June 17th, 2020. As you know, was pretty much a jam-packed day in the news cycle. I always tell people the middle of the week is always the most jam-packed cycle of news. So I am going to get to it. I'm not trying to spend 40 minutes like I did the last time. Coronavirus, as I always mention every time. We are at 2,161,851 cases of COVID in this country. And that's due to most of the states being reopened and not reopening in phases. Deaths are at 117,717. That's a lot. That was a big jump from 116. Where we was at yesterday? I think it was like 116 and some change. And now it jumped up almost 1,000. That's a lot. So I got some numbers for Florida. Florida is at 82,719. Has over 3,000 deaths. Georgia's at 57,681. They're at nearly 2,500 deaths. Arizona is at 40,000 deaths, over 40,000, and they're at 1,200 deaths. Almost over 1,200 deaths. So that is a lot. A lot. Right? Okay. So, and as you know, there's no mass testing in all these places. I mean, where's testing? I live in New York, so there's a whole bunch of testing. And we test almost nearly over our capacity of testing. But these other places don't really have like the mass testing facility that they have. And of course, Donald Trump thinks that the cases are rising because of, what did he say? Why cases are rising because of there's more testing. That's a lie. But I'm going to get to Andrew Cuomo's briefing. So my governor is awesome. He has grown on me from time to time. When it comes to natural disasters, he does a good job. I'm not even going to lie. Today, he acknowledged there is a day 109 since the coronavirus pandemic surfaced in our state, and day 24 of protests. He said he covered the whole unrest and police reforms. He said collaborative will be a great the New York State Police Reform and Reinvention Collaborative will be a great transformation for New Yorkers, and call the reform we seize the moment, carpet momentum, which is corporate DM, that's he calls it. Police departments around the state, including New York City, where I live in, has how many months? I think like 10 months, 9.5 months to get it together in terms of reforming the police. And he said, what does it look like for you, your 2020 vision? What is your use of force policy? What is your staffing? What does demilitarize the police means? I know what it means. It means like get rid of all like the tanks and all of that. What does defund the police means? For people think it's abolishing the police, and it's not. I broke it down like a couple days ago of what defund the police means. It means basically divert some of the funding towards different agencies such as social services, education, technology, infrastructure, job training, and etc. So, but some people don't know what defund the police means, because some people think it's abolishing the police because they get the wrong messaging from some people on the far left and then mostly on the far right. So, and he said, what's the transparency, disciplinary process? So he wants the police departments all over the state, including in the city, to come up with a plan that will have the community activists, the elected officials, and the police department all come together to come up with a comprehensive police reform. I think it's a good idea if you involve different stakeholders, because different stakeholders what makes the community thrive and what makes the community keep going forward. If it's just by like elected officials and police, it's no say on the community itself. So that's exactly why this comprehensive thing makes absolute sense. Also, he signed a executive order. I'm going to get to that, where he recognizes Juneteenth as a national holiday for, as a statewide holiday for state workers, but he said he will advance the legislation to make it an official holiday for New York State as of next year. I think he should do that now, but there are baby steps. He's doing his best and trying, maybe because he's being advised, saying like, yo, come on, man. Because Juneteenth, everybody don't know what Juneteenth is, I guess you look it up on the internet. Don't go on Wikipedia. No. Juneteenth is basically celebrating the emancipation of slavery. I think it was 1865. June 19th, 1865. Hopefully I got the year right. And I think it's more of a big year because I think it's 155 years. So, yeah. Now, in terms of COVID-19, he did cover, we have the least hospitalizations since March 20th, and that's like 3 months ago. We had 1,400 in hospitalizations, no new cases at the door, hardly. 17 deaths last night, which is how many in the hospital? 15 in the hospital, 2 at the nursing home. Also, we tested nearly 60,000 people in New York State alone. Only 567 of those 59,000 tested positive. So that's under 1%, which is great. Also, the infection rates have gone down. We had the least infection rates in the country. Keep in mind, 3 months ago, we had the highest infection rates, and it was not through China. The virus did not come from China to our state. It came from Europe. It was already traveling from China to the western part of the world. So when Donald Trump and the Republicans say it came from China, it originated off the territory of China from a bat. But it actually came, in New York, it came from Europe. And places like France, places like Italy, places like Spain. Because those are the people that come and visit New York from Europe. More than people from London visit New York. And that's the truth. Also, 20 states are seeing increases. And I already read some already that are seeing increases and daily increases. That's why the death rate is so high. The death rate is almost at 120K. I won't be surprised by August we get up to the 140s. Or maybe the 150s. The rate that reopening is going through other places, I won't be surprised. Yeah, and so when Trump says that they're doing more testing, it's demonstrably not true. But like you said, don't believe his bullcrap. But the last thing I'm going to cover of his briefing before I go on to something else. New York City, if you live in New York City, we are about to see phase 2 as of Monday. We're about to go into phase 2. And phase 2, for those who don't know, you can look it up on the internet. Phase 2 is basically professional service. Those who work in the office and those who work in real estate, you'll be able to go back to work. That's people like me. I rather work from home. Yeah, I'd rather work from home and go to the office like 2 days out the week. I don't mind. But more on his brief, you could catch that on YouTube. In the meantime, Roshawn Brooks murder. Rashad's in the case of Roshawn Brooks murder, the DA of Fulton County, Paul Howard, said Garrett Wolf was charged with 11 counts of 11 counts of murder, according to his office. The second officer, Devin Bronson, was placed on administrative leave. He is cooperating witness for the state. He also faces 3 charges, including aggravated assault and violation of oath. And this is according to NBC News. So I'm getting my stuff from NBC News, people. Bryson stood by Brooks, body as he was laying on the floor, or laying on the ground, while Wolf kicked him, according to the DA, from what the DA said in the press conference today. Also, Howard also said, after Wolf shot Brooks, he said, "I got him." That's exactly what he said. So, also both officers were questioned. They questioned Brooks for more than 25 minutes. But the GBI, which is the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, said otherwise, that Brooks failed the sobriety test, and Director Reynolds, that's the head director, said he managed to get one of the officers' stun guns, aka a taser. A goddamn taser that was not even deadly. But the attorney for the Brooks family said the killing wasn't justified. And it wasn't justified. It was stupid. It was a poor lack of judgment, and it was an unnecessary use of force. Because it was. Also, Wolf was reprimanded in his past. He was reprimanded in 2016. That's like 4 years ago, for the use of force in an incident involving a firearm, according to the police department records. His record also shows an additional use of force incident in 2015 without any disciplinary action. So pretty much this guy already had a problematic record, like Sherwin in Minnesota. So I don't understand how all these cops can still be on the force. I even say in New York City how Pantaleo was still on the force after killing Eric Gardner, and he just got fired last year. Like, these police officers need to be sued. Some of these departments need to be sued. Some of these commissioners need to step the hell down. Like, this is absolutely insane. Like, it's no way in hell. And yes, police unions do cover them. Because in my city, we have the largest police department. We have the largest union. We got the most racists, with an S, that lead these unions and that have discredited the families who have been killed in the hands of the cops. So this DA was right to charge for 11 counts, and I'm glad he's charging the other officer, and I hope the other officer gets off administratively and gets fired, because once you an accomplice is there, you is just as guilty as the person that committed the crime. Look at the Sherwin cases. Those guys are charged with second-degree murder. I wish they up ante that to first degree. So that's what's going on. And his wife basically said that, she will never have her best friend again. She will never have a husband again. And now she's going to be a single mother of 4 children. So look what these officers just messed up somebody's life and took a father away from 4 children. Great job, cops. Great job. But I hope you get what you owe. You reap what you sow. Excuse me. In terms of justice for Brianna, but what about her case? I mean, George Floyd, I understand what happened to him was horrible, but we forgot about Brianna Taylor. Like, we literally forgot about Brianna Taylor. And her killers are still out there, still working on the force, still arresting people, still working at things, they're still eating donuts, drinking coffee. Like, they're not even being reprimanded for this. And this is and even I think Roshawn Reed, I don't know if his killers are locked up in jail in Indiana or Michigan. So now that these cases are coming out, this is exactly why the legislation that the CBC proposed is necessary. And speaking of the legislation, Tim Scott, Jesus, and the GOP, the lone black GOPer, had announced his plan, for legislation. I'm going to read it to you. I got it here. I take my notes, and this is according to The Hill. So, this bill led by Senator Tim Scott of North Carolina, who's a Republican, the only African-American Republican Senate in the GOP, senator in the GOP. The bill includes new penalties for cops not using body cameras, has new requirements on law enforcement records retention, and will include a separate bill that will make lynching a federal crime. Keep in mind, Kamala Harris, Cory Booker, and even Tim Scott, who has this bill, this reform bill, had the lynching bill that was introduced 2 years ago, and it was shot down by the GOP, or was it last year? Shot down by the GOP, and it was held up again by libertarian Rand Paul, talking about, oh, this bill doesn't make lynching a crime. I mean, then whatever he freaking said. Like, dude, you need to get your shit together. Like, the GOP just irritate my soul. They have irritated my soul since I was a child, and they irritate my soul even more. Caping for Donald Trump. Let me read more of this. The press conference included Tim Scott, Mitch McConnell, Senate Majority Leader, and several other GOP senators. However, this bill does not include qualified immunity that the Democrats asked for to be ended. A legal doctrine that shields police officers from lawsuits, and no-knock warrants. The bill will be taken up on the Senate floor, as Mitch McConnell said. He will force initial procedural support where he plans to get 60 votes, including 7 Democrats. Tim Scott also said he plans to negotiate plans with Democrats, but he said as of what they wanted, that will be impossible to get GOP support. And when he was asked about the Dems voting for the bill, if we don't have the votes on the motion to proceed, that means that the politics is more important than restoring confidence in communities of color. First of all, when Chuck Schumer took up when asked for a resolution and proposed his resolution to the Senate and to take up the CBC bill in the Senate, the GOP senators, these same ones that's introducing this reform bill, are the same goddamn ones that denied the motion to take up the CBC bill in the Senate, which is way more comprehensive, which is police reform, criminal justice reform. And from the Democrats, what we want, and what the Democratic senators and the Democratic congressional elected officials want: a ban on chokeholds and absolute qualified immunity, and no new funding for the police, and ban no-knock warrants, which the GOP in their bill will disincentivize chokehold use, no change to qualified immunity, add new funding, and does not ban no-knock warrants. So, Tim Scott, like, you couldn't get on that bill with the CBC? You should have did that. Even if you're a part or not a part of it. I don't know if you're a part of it or not, but you could have got on that. They wouldn't mind your help. You didn't want to. Plain and simple. So guess what? Your little bill is nothing but meaningless, as they say. When your words are meaningless, that bill is meaningless. But good luck getting that shit through the Senate, because they ain't gonna get no Democrat support. I can tell you that right now. Just saying. Now with Matt Gaetz. So I think there was a hearing in the Senate. I'm pretty sure, I don't know, it was Justice and Policing. I think it was a Judiciary Committee in this in the House. Representative of Louisiana, of the Baton Rouge area, Cedric Richmond, who is also a surrogate for Joe Biden's presidency, an early surrogate, was at a hearing, and he told Matt Gaetz it's not about color of your kids, it's about black people in the streets. Because Matt Gaetz asked about, what do you mean of the color of the kids? What about, why you got to bring about color? So that's what he told him. And so, and if it's your kid on the street, he's more concerned than he is about his own kid. I guess Matt Gaetz got biracial kids. I don't know, but he just went off and got upset and blah, blah, blah. So Cedric was just like, listen, if it's about your kid, you know, I'm more concerned. He said, can I reclaim my time? The GOP feels uncomfortable talking about race because of the civil unrest that happened in our country with the George Floyd murder and with the other serious murders. It's your president. Your president. It's the one that's dividing the country even further. He's stoking the fears of non-educated white men and even some educated white men. Other companies have took in consideration that Black Lives Matter, and that's why they're trying to do all different incentives to bring racial equality. It's going to take a number of steps, people. It is. Plain and simple. And that's just what it is. So Matt Gaetz and 2 other conservatives get uncomfortable, because guess what? We're here to stay. Racism is live and well. It's time to talk about it. On to John Bolton. John Bolton is the former National Security Advisor, the one of many under the Trump administration. He's coming out with a new book, and this is according to CNN's report. John Bolton said that Trump asked China to help him win an election, according to his new book claims. The accusation described by Bolton was during the meeting between the 2 leaders during the G20 summit last June. Trump stunningly turned the conversation to an upcoming 2020 election. Bolton said Trump stressed the importance of farmers and increased Chinese purchasers of soybeans and wheat in the electoral outcome. He added that it would print Trump's exact words. Also, Bolton said the conversation turned back into trade. Trump proposed the remaining $350 billion of the trade imbalances by Trump's arithmetic, which is Trump's math. For those who don't know what arithmetic is, I'm pretty sure all you know. The world not imposed terms, but again returned to the IPO turn into Chin to buy as many American farm products as China could. And he said these claims should have been investigated. So here's my thing with John Bolton. All of a sudden, you want to speak out now? Where were you when the Republicans asked you? Democrats, asked you during the impeachment hearing. You were even subpoenaed. And you got your lawyers involved and you listened to the directors of the White House. All this speaking up now, talking about people should investigate it. I'm going to say this in modest terms as possible, and it's going to turn some people off, but John Bolton can eat a dick. And that's all I'm saying. It's your fake concern-ism, if that's even a word. Now my last topic with these VP progressives. These VPs. So it's the battle of the so-called progressives, because they're not real progressives, and the actual real liberals, aka progressives, wanting a VP. I said it. If you those who don't watch my video did watch my video, I want a black woman, and not just any black woman. A black woman that is confident, smart, knows our foreign policy issues across the board, who also knows the law. And the person that I think is suitable for this position, I keep saying, is Kamala. Kamala is mostly the favorite across the board. I think next to her, I think is Abrams. And Abrams is not even being considered because she doesn't have enough experience. She only served on a statewide position. Because it's true. As for Warren to me, as a foreign policy issues, she doesn't have a strong hold on it. She only knows like domestic educational policies, and even that, some of the policies from her campaign, they were adoption of other policies from the other candidates, such as Kamala Harris alone, Julian Castro, and even Bernie Sanders, right? Even though she did more work than Bernie Sanders in the Senate, because it's true. But as I said, she couldn't even gain too much black support, as much black women she had working for her. So therefore, as I said, I can only see Kamala Harris being the VP next to Joe Biden, and she could work well with Joe Biden. She has a relationship with the Biden family due to her friendship with Beau at the time when he was alive. So that makes perfect sense. It does. So as I say in this video, as I conclude, almost lost my train of thought. So we're halfway in 2020, and a lot of things have happened, and embrace yourself for more things happen, but don't get sad about it. Get active. Start educating yourself. Start reading, but also don't consume a lot of it the whole entire day. A lot of people are not political junkies. I get it. But just be abreast and be aware, but also live your life. But be safe and wear your mask and wash your hands. Until then, have a great night. See you tomorrow.